Why Not? A queer podcast.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Todd.
And I'm Jeremy Williams, and you're listening to Wine.
Why Not? A queer podcast.
Episode 71.
We're in our 70s.
We are.
How exciting for us.
We're like that one show with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, getting our groove back. I'm pretty sure I just merged like 9 different
Frankie and Johnny.
medias there. Frankie and Johnny, that's what I'm thinking of.
Did you watch that?
I watched the first season, and I don't know why I never went back, because I really liked it.
Yeah, it was good.
And then they just kept, because it's on Netflix. Right? Yeah, Netflix.
Something
and
like that.
It was, they kept dropping seasons. Like, ooh, a new season's out. I should watch it. And then it's like, season 3 coming out. I was like, ooh, there's the season 3. I should watch both those. And then it just got to, why haven't I even started watching
Well, and
this
now
show
you have
yet?
too many to get to, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, season 25.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
really.
No, I don't remember what they're, but I mean, it's a half-hour show. I find I can jump into a new show.
If it was season 25, they would be 95 years old.
Yeah, and I would not be hopping on board. But no, if it's a 30-minute episodes, I'll hop onto a new show for a couple of seasons. But if it's like an hour and it's more than 2 seasons, I was like, nah, I'm sure that was a great show. Excuse me.
I don't know if your microphone's going to pick that up, but that was fun for all of us. Maybe it's something we should cover with this.
My gas? Frankie and Johnny?
Don't we every episode?
No, that would be a good episode, because there are LGBTQ links all throughout that show.
Yeah, I mean, don't their
husbands
hook
The
up?
premise of the show is they both of their husbands leave the women for each other.
Right.
But they're both secretly in love. And they're played by Martin Sheen and
Sam Waterston?
Sam Waterston.
I
Yeah.
love Sam Waterston.
I love both of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know why I didn't watch past the first season.
I don't know. Anyway, I love Lily Tomlin.
Yeah. I like Jane Fonda.
There you go. Oh, she got a like. You know what? If she made comments on like a Facebook post and you're like hearting everyone's comments and then you get to hers and you just hit like, do you think people notice that?
I do.
Because I do that.
I think that they do. I think light is like very acquaintance-like. Like, you know, like you're going through and you're like, oh, I know the business you're in. I'll acknowledge you exist. But then a heart is like, I really am interested in what you just said.
I feel like I do it if I feel the person needs me to love it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they need a hug. So I'm going to love it.
Well, they have the hug emoji on Facebook
Yeah,
now.
but that's more like, I feel like that's more like a sympathy cares thing.
Yeah. Don't we all need a little
Like, what if
sympathy?
somebody was like, yay, I got a promotion, and you're like, hug.
Come in. Come on in.
You're like, oh, sympathy. I don't know what all the emojis mean, and I'm sure I use them improperly.
Yeah.
But I don't watch the TikToks.
I just laugh at everything.
Oh my
laugh
God.
emoji, laugh emoji, laugh emoji.
Ugh.
I lost my job. Ha ha ha. Laugh emoji.
Ron DeSantis comes out with another anti-LGBTQ plus law. No, not at all. Hey,
Kidding.
let's say thank you to our sponsor.
Oh, let's.
Pineapple Healthcare, an award-winning primary care clinic right here in Orlando.
Pineapple Healthcare offers mental health counseling, HIV, STI testing and treatment, and specializes in care for the LGBTQ plus community.
Open Monday through Saturday. Call today at 407-553-6336 and schedule your appointment.
Pineapple Healthcare, better together.
It sure is.
Sure is. And I love that they're open on Saturdays. I think I mentioned this last week
Yeah.
because I started going there. And if you're one of those regular Monday through Friday 9 to 5ers, they have Saturday appointments, and it's fantastic.
It's too bad you don't have a job where your boss would let you go to a doctor's appointment on Monday through Friday.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I could, but as a good employee, I try not to take.
If you have the time off. So I want to talk about this thing you talked about last week, right? Because you brought up that you were going to Pineapple Healthcare and that they were putting you on Ozempic. Now, I haven't read your publisher's desk in the current issue of Watermark, or your editor's desk.
Yes.
Ooh, I just gave you a promotion.
Ooh.
Your
Welcome to my new company.
I haven't read your editor's desk, so I was having this conversation with Ryan in St. Pete last week. I think I was there for like 5 hours. And so I was having a conversation with him, and I said, I think when we do the podcast on Monday, I need to apologize to Jeremy for my reaction to what he said when he said that he's on Ozempic. And I think it's like where I'm coming from in this. It's like when I tell people that I don't drink or that I'm an alcoholic and I'm sober, they feel the need to tell me their entire drinking history. And I'm like... it's okay. You're allowed to. You can drink like a normal person, so you go right ahead. Me, I can't, so I don't. I mean, that's just the gist of it. But it's so weird. Like, I'll go out with people that I used to hang out with when I was drinking, and they're immediately like, I don't drink that much anymore. I'm like, okay, good for you.
I just want to let you know I've cut down on drinking. Because of you.
Like, don't judge me. So anyway, so when you announced that you were on Ozempic, I was like, I've got to start working out because I can't be like, I don't think that I looked it up. I'm not morbidly obese, but I'm definitely obese.
On your way there.
Well, I mean, I looked at the BMI scale and I'm just a couple of points away from that. But it was like, well, he wasn't bringing that up. You being on Ozempic has nothing to do with my weight, and so I shouldn't have made it about that. So I was like, I need to apologize for doing that. But then Ryan said, well, have you read his publisher's desk? And I was like, no. And it's like, it's all about people's reactions to him announcing that he's on Ozempic. And I was like, oh. And then, like, right after he said that, we read a comment that somebody made on your post about being on Ozempic, and I was like, dude, don't be a dick.
Yeah. Did you read the column before you commented, sir?
I don't want to cuss right away on the podcast, but I just want to say, what a dick! And listen, if you're listening, and I know that you are. I don't remember. I know that you are. I know everybody's listening. But there are multiple reasons for people to take
various drugs. Yeah,
take various drugs. Like I think of. I want to say albuterol, and it's not because that's asthma medication.
My favorite go-to is Viagra. Because it was designed to be a heart medication. And we know that nobody has prescribed Viagra for heart issues. So it's the same thing. And I get where he was coming from. I don't think that the comment came from a place of malice or ill intent.
No, it just came from a
just
place
annoyance.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say this word, and it's not always a negative word. There are many things that I am ignorant about. Mm-hmm. And so I think it came from a place of ignorance. Yeah. And I find that if you're coming from a place of ignorance, then maybe you want to ask questions and not pass judgment.
Yeah.
And like there's a great scene in Ted Lasso that talks all about asking questions and not passing judgments. The dart scene, look it up. I love it. Oh my God, is that what I look it up? I love people are saying it's the best scene ever.
I hear it's the best thing
ever on
television.
Best scene ever. Anyway, I go to the why can't I think words? We're doing this too early in the morning. It's not an antidepressant, but I think there's some sort of antidepressant or mental health medication that also helps people quit smoking.
Wellbutrin.
That's what that's what albuterol, Wellbutrin. It kind of made me think of the same word. And so people take it for different reasons. And I don't believe, now correct me if I'm wrong, listen, if you're listening and you're like, this guy's calling me ignorant and saying I'm a dick.
Or if you're a pharmacist and we're saying a bunch of shit that's not right.
then let us know. But I don't believe that there's a shortage right now.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard. I know that that a lot of the backlash to the Ozempic craze wasn't directed, at least initially, it was not directed at people who were using it, who were, of myself, very overweight and needed, had other underlying health conditions because their weight needed some help losing weight. The shortage that I heard about was at the beginning of the year during that, celebrity award season. And they're like, oh, we're going to take Ozempic because we want to be as skinny as we can and wear the smallest dress with the tightest waist. I blame, and don't look at me, Caitlin, I blame the Barbie movie. Because Barbie came out and she's got that skinny waist and she's got those really nice legs and the beautiful dresses and everybody's
doing it again, Barbie.
You gotta look like Barbie.
Destroying the world.
So everybody was using Ozempic and people were up in arms, and I get that.
No, I get it, and I do see that, but I don't think the comment was good for you on your journey, but it's for people who are diabetic and you shouldn't be taking it if you're not because there's a shortage. And I think that what it really should be more of is if you're at a certain, BMI, that it's very unhealthy and that your life is at risk. Yeah. And whatever means at which you can take to get your BMI down and get your health risk down, I'm all for.
Yeah.
So that's really what the conversation should be. Is not if it helps. I don't like even if you're not diabetic, if this helps your other health conditions, absolutely.
Yeah, and I agree. And it's I mean, go to my Facebook page, sir, and look at my photos.
You're talking to me?
No, the gentleman with the comment.
I mean,
and you can assume
that
I probably have diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So just
I don't want to say anything that sounds offensive, but your picture runs with your story online, and I don't think that
that's more of a shoulders up photo. I'm wearing a big bulky. I don't think you get the full view of what I look like.
I think
in that photo.
I mean, I think, like, you know what, on a totally side note, Dylan has started this thing where, like, he can make GIFs and put them on. So, like, there are GIFs of me on, like, if you're going to react to somebody and I'm not going to tell you what to look up because I don't want this to be a thing, but it's, like, the worst GIF of me and my, like, chins are all hanging out and it's so bad. But he did it because I reacted to something Jen texted me. And so he made a GIF out of that, put it on Tenor and then can send it to her. So I send it to her all the time now when she says something and I want to react.
Fascinating.
Anyway,
Caitlin,
I was just saying
that.
From here to here, that GIF of me screams Ozempic.
But yeah, so
did you find it?
No, I have to ask what keyboard he uses.
But so yeah. I am on my Ozempic journey, and along with that comment, I've actually gotten 2 emails commenting positively about the column, and then also we ran into a friend of ours who also commented and said he really liked it. Well, did he use it? Because after we walked away, I remember him saying, "Hey, Jeremy, I read your column," and then I was like, "Oh, well, thank you," and then I never said, "Did you enjoy it?" I'm assuming he did.
I'm assuming though, because he said something to the effect of for obvious reasons. I identified with a lot of it.
Yeah,
I want to tell you something too, like because during Fringe, which we'll get way into, somebody came up to me and said that they read my articles that I write. I write the publisher's desk every other issue. And I don't know why. I've been here for a long time, and every time somebody says they read my article, I'm always like, "Oh, really?" Well, I mean, of course people do, I guess, right? And so when our friends said they read yours, I was like, "Oh, you read the paper." It's so funny because obviously we wouldn't be in business if they didn't. So, so thank you for reading that. But they went on and on about how much they love them and how the storytelling that they really appreciate, and it was really cool.
Yeah,
they did say they liked it more than others, but I won't say who.
Well, I'm sure that your mother enjoys all of the columns.
I will say this person wasn't related to me, but kind of is. You have those people in your life that sort of raise you,
friends to family kind of thing.
Yeah,
like you call them aunt and uncle, but they're not really aunt and uncle.
Or I would say that this is somebody who when they met my dad, introduced himself as Rick's other dad.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I'm his other dad. I helped raise him for a couple of years there when he came out. So
very nice.
Very nice. Lovely time, lovely people. So anyway, and keep chronicling your journey here. Talk about it all the time, because I know that there are people listening who might be thinking like, well, I need help because I can't do this on my own, but I don't have diabetes and I don't know if I should do it. So I hope you're an inspiration to them.
I hope so too. And if you want a little chuckle with your Ozempic drama, South Park just on Paramount Plus. South Park released their latest special, which is all about Ozempic, and I have never identified with Cartman more in my life.
I must watch this now. All right, I do. As we read this, should we update this because our coverage area is international. And they say in this little commercial here that it's right here in Orlando, but they are also now in Lakeland.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, they've got... I wrote notes about that because that's something we did this week.
Look at this, how we're transitioning right into our weeks.
So, Pineapple Healthcare and Rose Dynasty Foundation are partnering together to open the very first LGBTQ plus community center in Lakeland, out in Polk County. So it's got some medical offices there. So Pineapple will be doing what they do here in Orlando. They'll be doing that, bringing that to Lakeland. But also, it's like the center we have here, or that there are centers all over the country. That's going to be bringing a lot of events and services to the Lakeland area that have needed them for a while.
Yeah, I think it's great because it's in Polk County, which needs something like this,
Yeah.
I think, and it's great. One thing that I really liked about this space, though, is I've never seen this in any community center that I've been at. There is a dressing room for drag entertainers to get ready. I mean, I guess it's probably any entertainer, but you know, I mean, I think because Mama Rose.
Yeah, Mama Ashley Rose.
Rose.
Who is the founder and runner of Rose Dynasty.
It's a drag queen, and probably was like, look, if you're going to slap my name on that sign, you're going to give me a dressing room. But it's cool because it's like the mirrors with the lights all around it, like all Gypsy Rose.
Yeah, and they're going to be doing events and stuff out there, so it makes sense to have, I guess, what do they call it, the green room? It makes sense to have a green room.
It's, the dressing room. A green room's like where the talent hangs out after they're ready to go, before they go out onto the talk show stage.
Oh, well,
Which
you might
would be
want
a
to let them know, 'cause
perfect-
I think they called it a green room when they were giving me the tour.
Which is the perfect transition into talking about Tonight from the Orlando Fringe. We'll do that later. But yeah, it was a really cool space. I think it's cool and great.
Yeah,
Maybe we should do an event out there sometime.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah. But they're doing they did a soft open. They've already launched and officially are open, but they're doing a grand opening on June 9th from.
You said soft open.
Oh,
I don't know why that's making me laugh.
Grand opening on June 9th.
Oh my gosh. Caitlin must be really tired today because she would normally have laughed at that. I've lost it. I've lost my biggest fan.
Grand opening on June 9th from 2 to 5. So if you can make it out there, if you're in the Lakeland area in Polk County, head out there. They're going to have some entertainment, some food, maybe some raffle prizes. I don't know.
Do you have another?
I feel like I heard them say something about raffle prizes.
There are two other things that I really enjoyed about that trip out there. Their shirts. I love their shirts. They all have the same pineapple shirt. And on their desk, they have a pineapple stitch.
Yes. Pineapples everywhere.
Not like a stitch work of a pineapple. It's like the character Stitch from Disney.
Yeah. Disney Stitch.
Alien number. Do you know the number? 626.
Alien 626. Yes. Yeah. The little dog running around, also in a pineapple.
Oh my gosh, that dog
shirt.
is adorable.
So yeah, it's a good time.
Absolutely. What else did you do this week?
This week I went back up to Georgia, see some family, and my youngest niece graduated high school. So I no longer have nieces or nephews who are in high school. But it was nice. They did the whole graduation on the football field. Which I feel like is the like when you see graduations like on television, on movies and stuff, they're always on the football field and the stands are packed. I believe, I mean, it was so many years ago, but I feel like mine was indoors, like we were at a civic center or something. But
I think but most, let's say, rural. I'm gonna guess this is a rural.
It sure
place.
is.
Yeah, most rural places will do them at the high school football field.
Yeah.
But if you live in a city that's got like a football team or a baseball team, you're likely to get I was gonna say married. You're likely to graduate in that stadium, or if you've got a nice performing arts center, that kind of thing.
I graduated in Plant City.
So you got married at the Strawberry Festival. You graduated in the strawberry fields.
It might have been out at one of the warehouses, or I don't know, a center or something out there. I don't remember where. I remember there being a roof on it, but again, many years ago. But it was a good time. Got to hang out with family. The next day, we did a big graduation party for Presley, who's my niece, and it was a good time.
I feel like I graduated at the old arena, the Orlando Arena.
Ah, nice. How many were in your graduating class?
9 million. No, they were it was over 700.
Yeah. I remember my graduating class was 604 people. And I remember this because when we got there, your name had your ranking next to it. Like they ranked, here's the valedictorian, and then they ranked everybody. And I was 302 or 302. I was right dead center in the middle.
Look at you.
The most average person of my class. Not the smartest, but not the least smartest.
Were you voted most average?
I was voted nothing. I don't recall us because you see that in again in yearbooks and movies and TV and stuff, that it's like voted most likely to succeed or most likely to win an Oscar or something, because that one lady person who was nominated for an Oscar, she was in her yearbook most likely win an Oscar. I don't think we did any of those for our yearbook.
We did. My biological father was voted most likely to succeed.
Oh, very nice.
And I was voted most talented. But I think that it's...
At what?
I was just about to ask that question. Because it certainly wasn't in acting. I mean, I was in theater, and I was in the chorus. But I think, I'm pretty sure one time I was asked not to sing out loud in the chorus. And I'm pretty sure I didn't get cast in anything cool. In fact, my senior year, they really wanted me to get cast in this one thing, and they kept letting me audition. And finally, they were like, no, you can play the guy that dies in the first 5 minutes. I just wasn't good. So I don't know why I was voted most talented. But it was also, I think it was sort of like this pity vote because, I mean, you think, tell me it was a dead tie between me and this other guy, because we were both voted, because they were like, it's a tie, and it's you and this other guy. Now, the other guy could sing. Yeah. He was in the chorus, and he could actually sing. God, I forget his name. But anyway, I just wasn't
Colin Farrell.
I just wasn't talented. So I think it was because I was the president of the Thespian Honor Society, and I was just around and played sports and was involved in things that they were like, oh, let's throw him a bone.
Was that your talent?
But I wish they had just thrown me a bone. Anyway.
Fantastic.
So that sounds fun. Was your niece glad you were there?
Yes, very happy. And all my my other nieces all flew in for the graduation also. So I got to see, I hadn't seen them in a while. So it was a lot of fun.
Are you the cool uncle? I
mean, I don't know. That would be a question to ask them. They seem to enjoy when I'm there, but, it might all be fake. I don't know. They're just like, oh, God, here comes the gay uncle. Everyone smile. Oh, my God, it's Uncle Jeremy. But no,
Here comes the angry uncle. Smile, so he smiles back.
But yeah, maybe I'm the cool uncle. I'm probably the old uncle now. I've grown out of the cools. I think maybe about 10, 15 years ago when I was in the Air Force and traveling the world, and they spoke of me in the family, they probably thought I was the cool uncle. Flying around the globe, fighting off the bad guys. Nope. Didn't fly. Didn't fight.
Yeah, I think if you're the cool
Just sat
uncle,
inside.
if you're a cool uncle, and you don't change anything about yourself, I think that when you hit a certain age, you become the weird uncle,
the sad uncle,
or the corny one.
Yeah.
I think that's where I am now. I used to be the cool one, and everybody's like, "Oh, I love it."
Have you not changed in 20 years?
Hey, I'm still corny. I still think it's to me, it's funny to go find, so when my niece graduated, I went to Target, and I was looking for, I just can't say it that way without. I love that commercial, Target.
Oh, the Target lady from SNL,
Kristen Wiig.
Yeah.
So I went there and I looked for. So she's in Syracuse, New York, right? I wouldn't describe that as a very diverse area. So I go to Target and I'm looking for an anniversary card for a grandmother, in Spanish. And so this is what I do is I'll find something that is complete, and then I'll cross things out and write my own card and that kind of stuff. But they didn't have any Spanish cards there at the Target. I was like, no Spanish cards? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay. So then I'm walking around the store, and I was looking for just things that she had on her list, because in addition to graduating, she's moving into her own apartment for the first time, and she needs all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, she wants power strips, so let's get a couple of power strips. So I go up to this lady at Target, and I'm like, excuse me, do you sell power strips? Can you tell me where they are? She goes, sorry, no English. And I said, where do you buy your cards? Not here. Anyway.
Interesting. What
So I'm just corny because I do those corny kind of things.
Why Spanish?
And I think I'm funny. Oh, it could be any language.
Oh, all right. I didn't know if there was something
Because
specific to.
no, because the person that I'm buying it for doesn't speak Spanish.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I get it.
I mean, if I could find them in German, I would do that too.
I understand the joke now.
And I always buy them for things that they're not for. Like she's graduating, and I'm getting her like an anniversary card.
I get the corny part now.
Yeah, I'm totally that guy. And you know I'm never.
Do they open it and they're like, "Oh, Uncle Rick,"
Well,
or are they like, "Uncle Rick"? Describe her face when she opens
like that episode of Modern Family for Christmas when they're all talking about like, oh, we got to put Cam's card on the mantle or he's gonna lose his shit. Never throw away this crappy card from Rick.
That leads into an interesting question. What do you do with cards that you receive? Like, do you keep them or do you throw them out? And if you throw them out, how long do you wait to throw them out?
Of course, Mom and Dylan, I keep every card you give me.
But let's say other people's cards.
No, honestly, I do have, there's a box in my closet that has every card and every note that I passed in class in high school, all that stuff. But once I hit college, I would keep a card. Maybe, well, I do have all of our wedding cards I still have. They're in a box. But no. I mean, I keep it as long as I don't see it. And as soon as I see it, I'm like, oh, I don't need that anymore. So, like, it'll sit on, like, a nightstand for a month or 6, and then I'm cleaning up, and I'm like, oh, I don't need these. Boom, 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 boom.
Ow. My mother keeps, I mean, she has cards from, like, the 70s. She keeps all cards. Me and my sister are not card people. So, like, if I have, like, a party, like, let's say I had a birthday party, and people got me gifts, and they put cards in there. When I'm cleaning up after everybody's left for the party, the cards go into the garbage along with everything else from the party. I don't keep cards.
You throw them away in front of people.
I will be like, that's awesome. Garbage. Wrapped it up in the wrapping paper.
I was going to say there's no time that you have to keep them, but you need to at least keep them for 30 minutes or as long as the people who gave them to you are there.
In fact, I tell people, I'm like, listen, and I'm not saying you have to get me a gift, but if you're going to get me something for my birthday, don't attach a card to it because it just seems like a waste of money to me.
Yeah, it's like $3 to $6.
And they're super expensive.
And if I get good ones, so I'm going to buy, sometimes they're $10, $11 the ones I get.
Now, what I do keep, and I have a little plastic baggy thing that has all of the letters everybody wrote to me while I was in basic training. So to the day I die, I know who acknowledged me and who didn't give a shit for 6 weeks. And I go through those a couple of times a year. And I was like, oh, I forgot you wrote me. What a beautiful letter. And then I'll be thumbing through. I'll be like, oh, my uncle or my aunt didn't write me while I was in basic training, being screamed at and having to scrub latrines. They couldn't be bothered to send one letter.
Not even a thank you for your service.
Not a nothing.
Would you like to name them right now? Shall we shame them?
They know who they are.
Look right into the camera.
You know who you are. But I have that, and that it's like a little a little storage box that has that, and then like random trinkets from like different points of when I was in the military and stuff. But no, cards right into the garbage. I don't understand the concept of the card. I get that unless it's a carrier for money and or gift cards. I don't understand the point of buying a card.
Some of them are funny. I don't get the ones that are like, you're the most amazing person. Thank you so much. I mean, write that yourself in the card. So I'm going to get one that's like, I don't know, like some kind of dog. My favorite ones are those ones where they have those old-timey pictures on them. And by old-timey, I mean from the 80s when I was a kid.
Sure.
And then you open them and there's some sort of crazy saying about like, two old women with horn-rimmed glasses on it, and then you open it up and they're talking about getting laid. Those kind of things make me laugh. Those are good ones. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only cards that I like are the ones that you open up and they've got like a little spring in them and it shoots glitter everywhere. Or when you open them, they play music and then never turn off. That'll teach you to get cards.
You're going to get glitter bombed on your next birthday. I'm gonna mail them, please, to Jeremy's house. Don't send them to the office.
Anyway, how was your week?
It was pretty good.
Yeah?
It was busy. It's busy.
Well, we're in a busy time in our lives.
May and June are so busy for us that it's. I've always said this when I have to have a meeting, like I sit on boards and they're like, oh, let's have a meeting. And somebody's like, I can't this week. I just can't. And I'm like, you can't find 30 minutes to have a meeting, really. And that happened to me this week. Somebody's like, hey, we want to meet. And I said, you can have 1 hour from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Wednesday, or I can't, because it legit every minute in a reasonable work schedule is just taken up.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. But it was a very busy week with a lot of shows.
Yes, it was. We were the past 2 weeks. It's been Fringe. Fringe.
There's been a lot of Fringe, but also some other things. So I just want to say last week I went to see Hedwig and the Angry Inch at American Stage. It's playing there. Excuse me, I had a little. If I fall, do any of you know CPR?
I do.
Okay, good. Just go right ahead and save me if I fall. To the tune of Staying Alive, right? It's not anymore. What do you do now? Oh, okay. Anyway, June 16th. No, it is now through June 16th.
Yes.
But it is also, I think there's 3 days from the 13th through the 16th in there where they're doing a concert version of it at Janice Live.
Yeah. It looks like the full show goes through June 9th, and then from June 13th through the 16th is that concert.
Well, thanks for looking that up.
I looked it up in Watermark.
In the latest issue of
your
Watermark.
LGBTQ news source.
Very nice. I should keep that handy, or I should read it. No, I'm just kidding. So, for those that don't know, Hedwig and the Angry Inch, it is written by John Cameron Mitchell, and the music is written by Stephen Trask. It is incredible. The music's incredible. I love the show. I've seen it multiple times. Things of this show are tattooed on my body. Thing of this show is tattooed on my body. It's not the Angry Inch.
Oh my!
But it's this great story. It's about this boy living in East Berlin who wants so much to get out of there and have a free life, and some American soldier finds him and says, we'll turn you into a woman and I'll marry you and we'll go to the States. And the sex operation gets botched and they go to the States and the guy leaves him for someone younger. And so Hedwig is left alone to pull the pieces of their life together. And it's an incredible show. And so I would say this is a good version of this show. I would go see it. In fact, I've seen it, and now I'm going to go see the Janice Live concert if I can tear myself away from the thousands of events that we have to do in June to go see it, because the concert aspect of it is really good. They do make some choices that I wouldn't make. I don't. Have you seen it? You've seen the movie?
I saw the movie, and then I've looked. Obviously, it was on Broadway, and Neil Patrick Harris won a Tony for it. So I've gone back and watched some of his performances, and Wayne Brady, I think, did it.
Yeah,
I
think even Darren Criss did it.
I'll be honest. It's fine. I'm not in love with this show like you're in love with it, but it's good.
Yeah, it is definitely a show that if you see in person, it is way more entertaining. I don't like all music from all musicals, but if I see it live, I'll go see any show live, because live music is better than listening to it on TV.
You know what my biggest takeaway from Hedwig was? The thing that I was like, oh, that was funny is, and I think, is it Amy Sedaris who's in the movie?
She plays his the manager.
Agent. Yeah. And her cell phone was a tooth.
Is it Amy Sedaris?
Is it?
Or is it the other? No.
Or maybe it's whoever his manager is.
You know what it is? It's the lady. She's in a lot of shows. She is in Difficult People, I think. She played.
Caitlin's gonna look it
I
up.
think she plays. You ever see Difficult People?
Yes.
The redhead's mom.
Oh, okay.
I think that's her. I don't think it's Amy Sedaris.
But I remember a scene where they're backstage and she's answering her cell phone, and because she takes so many calls, she has a cell phone the size of a cap on a tooth. So when she's answering the phone, she's like, "Excuse me," and then she clicks her tooth, and that cracked me up when I was younger and watched this movie. But I should probably go back and watch it. Who is it? Karen. Oh yes, Karen Hines.
Yeah, she's in a lot of stuff. She's great.
Yeah.
But the movie is way different than the show. The show is basically a one-person show. But in the movie, they have the whole cast of people, and there's even somebody playing Tommy Gnosis, which is this rock star that Hedwig helped create. But in the show, on the stage version, it's just that one person. Like, the only person in it was John Cameron Mitchell, except for someone who plays Yitzhak. But that's just the band is on stage, and a member of that band plays Yitzhak. I'm going to destroy this person's name, and I apologize for this, but I'm going to try K. Chanthana Sadakun. I think if you say names that you know how to pronounce real fast, then it sounds right. But anyway, they play Yitzhak in this production of it and stole the show. Incredible singer. Incredible, great, like angry but funny. Just really kind of cool. It was a really good production. The things that I will say that I didn't really, because I have this tattoo. The tattoo I have is like the drawing from The Origins of Love, where the two pieces come back together as one. They didn't use that slideshow like that's used in the movie and used in the Broadway show and all of that. They used like a collage of photographs and things, which was odd to me because I'm like an originalist when it comes to Hedwig.
Are you a Hedwig gatekeeper?
So, is that what the kids call them?
# not my Hedwig.
Maybe the new version of it, maybe the one with Neil Patrick Harris had this, but I'm talking about the original with John Cameron Mitchell.
Yeah. Didn't you play that at your wedding?
John Cameron Mitchell, we did a cameo with him, and he sang the beginning of it, and then Ginger Minge came in and sang the rest of Origins of Love. Yeah. Yes, and it was amazing, and I loved it. I love that song. But so they didn't use those. One of the images they used was because the lyrics talk about these creatures look like two men glued up back to back, but the picture they used they didn't have a head on it, but it was a real person's body and naked with a penis and all. And I was just kind of like,
sounds like the perfect man.
When you do that, I think when you do something like that, then you just get the audience staring at a penis for 3 minutes. Let me say that again. When you put a penis in front of me, you have me staring at a penis for 3 minutes. So I was just kind of like,
I'm waiting for the things that were bad about it. What?
And then there was like a whole set, and it was it was just, I wasn't used to that. But I will say this.
Oh, because it's usually just like the band?
Yeah, it's just the band. But there was like a bar and this thing. But one thing that was cool about it is the band was like in the back of like a U-Haul truck. And that was kind of cool. That was part of the stage, was like the back of a U-Haul truck. And that was pretty cool. The one thing that worked better than I've ever seen. So there's this, the premise of it is that Hedwig created this incredible rock star that is very famous. And he doesn't give any credit to Hedwig for helping him become famous. And so what Hedwig does is travels and performs at like restaurant buffets and like dive bars and things like that next to whatever huge stadium that this rock star is sold out. So there's many times during the show where they open the door to the outside world and you hear his concert and him saying things and like thanking everybody but Hedwig for his success.
Oh.
And it's funny, but it never works really well as it did in this. Like, it's perfect because American Stage is right around the corner from Janice Landing. And so they say, he's performing at Janice Live now, and they open the door and it sounds like they just did it really well. It sounded like a real concert was going on, and you could hear it all, and it sounded like outdoorsy and far away. It was kind of cool.
And then it's going to go full circle, and they're going to do a concert at Janice Live.
Right?
He's finally going to get his...
Hedwig's getting her bags. Is that what you call it? Flowers? Bags?
Getting her flowers? Getting that bag?
Yeah. Purse. Oh, there you go.
Snatching that wig?
Purse.
Yeah.
Great show. I didn't mean to spend that much time on it.
No.
I just really like it, and I think that you should go see it, and that whatever Yitzhak is in from now until the day that I'm no longer ever in Florida, I will see everything she's in. She's that good. So there's that. And other than that, I saw Clue last night at the Straz.
I'm saying Clue at Dr. Phillips next week.
So am I. So I'm not going to say anything about what I thought about it.
I do want to ask one thing about this because I don't know much about the traveling show or the Broadway show. Is it the same ending, or they do that kind of thing, or do you know? They do the kind of thing in the movie where like they do a different ending?
I know exactly because I've seen the movie and the show. So I've got a reserve comment for it, but I will just say it's playing at the Straz through June 2nd, and then it's at Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center in Orlando the 4th through the 9th. It is a short show.
Is it?
Yes. It started late.
I gotta be honest. I don't hate that.
No.
I don't think everything needs to be 4 hours.
No, and so we're going to talk about these Fringe shows, but
One act?
The Fringe show that, yeah, I mean, it's, when I say it's short, it started late. Like, it was after 7:30. So it was like, shows at the Straz start at 7:30. But this started like 7:35 to 7:40. And like by 9, I was in my car. By like 9:10, maybe I was in my car.
Nice.
So you're talking like 75 minutes,
Down.
maybe. And it's funny. I was exhausted. I'm just run down. Fringe just ended. I saw 16 shows or something like that, and I'm just kind of run down and was like, I had to drive to the Lakeland thing yesterday, and that was at 1. And then Dylan and I were like, what are we going to do until 7? Because we're in Tampa, so we're just going to hang out. And walking around a mall is exhausting.
Yeah.
I'm that age. I was like, lights went down before all the lights went down. It was nice and air conditioned. I was out. But
well, good thing you have a second chance to
I
see
know.
the show.
No, but I woke up and saw lots of it, and it go see it, and then we'll talk about it. But it was nice and refreshing. The ending is interesting. It is the same and different. So it's fun.
Interesting. I look forward to it.
They sort of poke fun at the movie
Yeah.
when it gets to the end. So I do appreciate that. And there are a lot of things that are in the movie that are in the show.
Nice. Because I got to say, Clue, one of my all-time favorite movies. Absolutely love it.
I think you're going to like it. You're going to like the show. I think Jen is going to love it. You're going to hear her laughing the entire time. And, it's the best show she's ever seen.
Nice.
So that was it outside of Fringe shows.
So you want to hit Fringe then?
Oh, do I want to hit Fringe? Kidding.
Now,
kidding,
I do,
kidding.
because I want to talk about our Splash Awards. You want to talk about those first, or you want to talk about those after we talk about the
Let's
show?
talk about the shows and what we thought of them, and then we'll talk about the Splash Awards.
Okay.
Woo, that didn't come out right. I want to say this before we talk about them. Like, for those who don't know, and I'm sure we said this last year when we covered Fringe shows, it's a little different this year, I think. But Fringe is there's so many different aspects to it, right? You'll get these like professional actors who want to do something experimental, and they'll win the lottery to get in to do their show, and they'll do this amazing, crazy thing. But there's a lot of experimental things in there, so like everything's not my cup of tea. So when we do reviews, if I'm like, oh, I didn't really like this show, but it doesn't mean the show wasn't good. It just meant it wasn't my taste, right? And then there's a lot of shows that there's sort of this stereotypical shows that happen, right? There's like these ensemble shows that have gay characters that are over the top flamboyant, where every time somebody drops a pen, somebody picks it up and sticks their ass out, and it's like, oh, gay people like it this way, kind of a thing. And it's just there's just a lot of that kind of humor, a lot of shows like that. So we'll try to talk about them in the sense of, even though I may not have appreciated a show, it doesn't mean it wasn't good. It just means it wasn't for me, right?
Yeah. And I mean, you saw a lot more shows than I did.
Which is why I wanted to preface this with that, because it was not like last year. I feel like last year we saw a bunch of shows that were just stunning. And so, but this time, a lot of the shows fell into the category of sort of like, local, like, hey, it's just your run-of-the-mill local Fringe show. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just there wasn't too much that like stood out as insane, really good.
Yeah. I also think that the shows, because there's one of the things I notice every year with Fringe is there's a lot of parody shows, parodying movies and theater live shows, music. And I think that if that is in your wheelhouse, then like you get the inside jokes. But I think if you go in not a fan of what they're parodying, it's a little harder to get invested.
100%. And I know we're going to talk about a show like that. But then there's another one that's a parody that was incredible, and I hadn't seen that either. So it's just like, and the other thing too is like you'll get these troops that come in, and they may be 2 or 3 years into Fringe, but 5 to 10 years into Fringe, their shows are going to be amazing. I think about like the next, like, you have like Michael Wanzi and his troupe of shows and actors and things like that. And I look at like these younger ones as like the next generation, like in the next 10 years will become the people that we're talking about at Fringe all the time. And so, even though I may say this show missed this year to me, but it doesn't mean like last year they did a great show and maybe next year they'll do another one that's incredible.
Yeah. Also, I will say, people are allowed to like and hate things. And if something that somebody doesn't like is something you're involved in, it doesn't mean you're a terrible person. It just means go back to the drawing board.
Right. And look, you're out there doing it and you're doing the thing you like. And there's mad respect for that because we're not. We're not out there on stage.
There were a lot of shows with people in helmets and masks. Could have been me.
Are you Cocaine Bear?
I now will perform Cocaine Bear, the opera for you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, please, please. Okay, so having said that, let's just kind of recap. I know last time we don't have to talk too much about it, but we talked about. There's actually one reason I want to talk about these because I had a conversation with one of the writers of one of these shows, and I love it.
Sure.
But How the Grinch Killed Christmas, I think, was the first thing that we saw.
Yep.
And we were like, that was a fine Fringe show.
Yeah, that was one of those things where if it's a parody mesh of How the Grinch Stole Christmas and Clue.
Yeah.
And if you like one or both of those things, there are inside jokes that are going to crack you up. There's characters you're going to notice. If you're not a fan of either one of those, you're probably not going to enjoy this show.
Did I say How the Grinch Stole Christmas? It's How the Grinch Killed Christmas.
Yeah, that's the name of their show.
Yeah.
The movie is called How the Grinch Stole
Christmas. Yeah, it was a bit cliche, but it's the typical parody musical, and it's
in fact, it's right there in the title, a whodunit parody.
Who
done it in Whoville?
Yeah,
See, that was one of the jokes. If you don't know the Who's live in Whoville, you're like, that's a stupid title.
Do you know what? Okay, so Memorial Day, Modern Family had a marathon. So I watched Modern Family all day.
All the seasons are on Hulu. It can be a marathon every day.
And it practically is. I love that show so much. But the episode where they were going to have Christmas at Jay and Gloria's, but it had the last minute get switched to Claire and Phil's house. And then Phil took the tree and the presents to an opening to make it look nice. And so Claire went and stole them back. And there's a line where Dylan says in the car, like, she can't always be a Grinch. And then you cut over and she's dragging a tree and a thing of presents. And there's trees on the lawn and it's reflecting green onto her face. Hilarious. Anyway, this is what I want to talk about again.
Yeah.
Because I really actually did like it. The more I think about it, the more I liked it. And that's Howdy Stranger.
Oh, yes.
You saw that as well. Yes,
we saw that together also.
Yes, it was in the Pink venue. And it's written and performed by Luca Torrens. And I spoke with him about that. And I asked because I said, I just wanted to make sure that I referred to his identity correctly. And so is that a weird question? I don't know how to approach that, but I'm just like, excuse me, I loved your show and I'm going to talk about it on a podcast, but I want to make sure that I identify you correctly. So how do you identify? And
no, normally, like, if I'm talking to somebody, like, for a story, I'll be like, hey, even if it sounds like you have a name that's easily spellable, I'll say, hey, can you spell your name and let me know your pronouns? Because you never know.
Right. So he identifies as he, they, but wrote this show, performed it at the San Francisco Fringe Festival, and then brought it here, made some tweaks. I think it's great. I really will. I'll say this like several times. I admire people so much who can do a 1-hour show. They're the only person on the stage, and they capture the audience and keep you interested the whole time. And I think that Luca did that, and I wish him the best. I thought it was a good show.
Yeah, I like the show. Now, while I did like the show, one of the things that amused me, particularly if you do a show in the Pink venue, is, and this just ties back to things I've seen in movie and TV, whenever you watch a TV show or a movie about, actors working in New York, and it's like, oh, we have a friend who has an off Broadway show. That is always the theater setup when they're like walking in and there's like 2 people sitting there and then they do like a 9-hour rendition of some show they wrote. That is how I feel when a one-person show goes in there. That being said, I thought Luca did great. But I went in there and it felt very much like an off Broadway.
100%. Do you know what I think of? I think of the episode of Friends when they were all supposed to go see that show, and Chandler's the only
vagina
one,
monologues.
and he's the only one who's there. And Chandler gets up to leave, and she immediately points at him and says, "Why do you hate me?" Chapter 1. My first period. And I'm like,
that is exactly how I feel every time I walk into that theater.
We're going to get to a show where I felt that way about, and it turned out it wasn't. It was really good, actually.
The other thing, one of the other shows that we saw that we talked about last week, a nerdy gay juggling show. I do want to mention that one only because while we were out fringing, we ran into Jacob, I think is his name, and had a really delightful conversation about Fringe, and this was his first time at Fringe, and he is definitely someone who likes to talk. So about halfway through the conversation, you're like, I got egg rolls waiting, I gotta go, and then you abandoned me, and then but he's a super nice guy.
I gotta say,
he's very talented.
He's delightful.
Yeah,
and that's why I wanted to go back and sort of revisit these, because we did get to see these artists in their natural habitat.
And I did go back and see the show. Did I say that? Was that last week?
I don't know if you did.
I don't remember, but I went back and saw it because we saw the press preview.
Yeah.
And he does a, I'll call it a sword swallowing act. So he's supposed to, how they do the sword swallowing, they put it in the mouth, and then he juggles knives. Well, he didn't use a sword. He used a bent coat hanger, which seems more dangerous to me than a sword. So when I got there for that, my first thing that I noticed that was different from the show that we saw is he has a roll of paper towel and a bottle of Listerine on the stage. And I was like, how does that factor into the show? That wasn't there last time. So he coats the coat hanger in mouthwash and then slips it down his mouth and juggles knives. I was like, I'm about to see a murder here.
That's so dangerous. It seems like. I mean, is this a political commentary on his part about the Supreme Court ruling?
Welcome to Florida.
Right?
But yeah, so great show.
He's such a nice guy.
So nice.
Like if we
nice.
had time, I would have stayed and talked to him.
Yeah.
Because he just seemed to be. Here's one thing I really like this. This is something about Luca too. They seemed to enjoy what they were doing so much, and to them this is like their life, and they love it. And to pull that energy off of just talking to them is great. I could have talked to him for hours. Just had to get to my spring rolls.
Yeah. But yeah, good show.
So next in line we've got the Mandolarity.
Go on.
Next in line, we got. Look, this is that thing, right? This is. I don't watch The Mandalorian, so there's probably a lot of really funny inside jokes that I just didn't get.
A lot of this tied because I watched The Mandalorian, and I too did not thoroughly enjoy this show. But here's why: because it's not just The Mandalorian, and this isn't their fault. This is Disney's fault. Because they reference like 7 other shows that are on Disney Plus that are tied into the Star Wars universe that you have to watch in order to get that joke. And you need to watch this show in order to understand where this character came from to get that joke. And it was just so, by the 20 minutes in, it was so convoluted that I was like, just bring Baby Yoda out.
I do remember that they would say like, oh yeah, here's this character, but we won't explain them until season 2 of this other show.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, okay.
So here's my biggest issue with this is a parody of The Mandalorian. So it's fans of Star Wars doing a fun Star Wars show. But after watching this, it made me not want to watch Star Wars anymore because they made comments about how convoluted and deep in the weeds it gets with the shows. And it sounded exhausting to get back into it.
I will say, like, it also is like you'll see a show that'll have like seasoned actors that command the stage or have like I know I have purpose on stage, and then sometimes you'll get people that are newer and they kind of wander around or they rock on their feet or something like that. And I think this probably fell more into that category than the seasoned professional one. So
and correct me if I'm wrong. Did that feel like too much stage for that show?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was way too much stage.
Yeah. You know what I learned too? Well, I'll say this too about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Jen and I talk about like going and getting these like series that have like 1,000 movies in them and saying like, oh, on this holiday weekend, we're going to watch all of them.
Yeah.
So we did that with Star Wars, but we watched them all in order, like from episode 1, which was like the
The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, and then so not chronological order, but in numerical order. And by the time we got to the end of it, I was like, this show is consistently poorly acted. And
Now, did
lots
you
of
just watch the
holes.
3 trilogies, or did you
Yes.
watch all the movies?
Just
in
the
between?
3 trilogies.
Okay.
My favorite is the one where they all die.
Rogue One.
Yes.
Spoiler
That's a
alert.
good one. They all die.
One of the best Star Wars movies.
If you like watching that show, what's it called on Disney Plus? There's the show there's a series about that planet.
Andor.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what happens in the series. They're all going to die one day.
Yeah. What's funny is going the Star Wars properties as of late that you go in knowing that everyone in this movie or this TV show is going to end up dead is some of their best work. Like Rogue One, agree, one of the best, if not the best Star Wars movie. Andor, probably the best miniseries or series they've done. It's fantastic.
And the best actor to grace the screens in any Star Wars movie is Adam Driver.
Pedro Pascal, but we'll agree to disagree.
Do you think Pedro Pascal is handsome?
I do. You know, who do we
I
have
think
this
Adam Driver is
conversation with?
handsome. This is our entire
Somebody
opinion
in
is
our
based
office,
on how
we were
handsome
talking
they
about
are.
Pedro Pascal, and he's like, ugh, you're just jumping on the bandwagon. I was like, I don't need to jump on no bandwagon.
You just want to jump on
Pedro
Pedro.
Pascal is hot and sexy, except when he just has a mustache. I can't do just mustache. I need the full beard. Or nothing at all.
It's funny you say full beard and Pedro Pascal because he does not have a full beard.
It's patchy, but it's nice. I love him. I think he's adorable and hot and sexy.
I don't think it's necessary for us to like grape these. Do you think we need to?
No.
I think people will get it.
yeah.
They'll get the gist of it. So this is the one
Here,
that
we'll just overall the Fringe Festival, 3 grapes.
there you go.
being
it
the
is,
Fringe Festival.
Look, it's great. We love our relationship with Fringe. We love being a part of it. We create the official program. It's a great, and I love going to Fringe. We'll go every year. So like we said, if
we
we
love
see a show
Fringe.
that we just like, we're gonna get to some that we loved.
Yeah.
But we just don't love them all.
But also, like Fringe, we are not responsible for the shows. We're just responsible for telling you what the shows are.
So then this one you didn't get to see.
Yes.
This one is like Prowling the Abyss. Now, we made an agreement that we're going to see as many LGBTQ shows as we can. So I come up with a spreadsheet. We list all the shows and the time slots, and then we just pick with no discriminating factors whatsoever. We just pick the schedule to get to as many shows as possible. So I go to all of these shows not knowing anything about what it is. So in my brain, I'm going into Prowling the Abyss by myself, and I'm feeling like Chandler, and I feel like I'm about to get screamed at from somebody. But it is just because in the description of it, it describes it as so Karen Ann Light plays this character of Medusa, and it's in quotes a poetic femme absurdity show, or like she delves into like the poetic femme absurdity, like down with the patriarchy kind of thing. And so I'm like, so I go into this expecting this to be like an hour of torture, and I was really delighted by it. I'm gonna try. I can't describe it. Can I stand up and do this? I don't know if I'll be in the camera, but it's like, oh, this is my stomach. So she would stand like this, and she would walk
Leaning
like
back.
this and leaning back, and it was weird, delightfully weird. And then there was it was such a journey, right? Because she's this Medusa character, and then she becomes this other character that's just real soft and sweet. And I think that was the kind of the point, was like, oh, Medusa is too much for men to handle, so now I've got to be this softer, quieter person that maybe you'll like more. So it's just fascinating. But there was this one part. So I told Jen afterwards, I'm like, I kind of enjoyed it. Like it was really interesting, and it was the actress is very talented. So that I would give. But I started describing the things that happened in it that I thought were quirky and fun. And Jen's like, none of this sounds quirky and fun. But like there's this one scene, these segments would go on for like 5 or 10 minutes, but one was like for some reason started meowing. But then the meowing came to like this like cat howling and then screeching, and it just was going on and on and on. And then she stopped, and then she looked at the audience and leaned back in that way that she was doing and was like, "I'm sorry. Did that bother you?" And for some reason it made me crack up. I enjoyed it immensely. Did you get an email? So that was kind of fun. But then there's this other weird part where she like like laid down and went to sleep on stage, but there's a microphone there, and then she called somebody from the audience to hold the microphone for her, and while she incoherently mumbled for a while, and then got up and was like, "Did you not like that?" That was weird. It was fun. I enjoyed it, but at the end of it, it was like this great. I think when people finish their shows early that are really like have a point to say, give a little speech at the end of it. And I really liked what she had to say about supporting queer artists, and gave other queer artists in the audience the opportunity to talk about their shows for people to go, with this speech of like, look, I'm not from here, but coming here and being out and doing this show as a lesbian is I've never been concerned for my safety. And lately, I'm becoming concerned for my safety. And so we have to let people tell these stories and get these stories out there to normalize this. So it was great. I love the point of it. So I'm going to give that 2 thumbs up. I know we don't do thumbs up, but she can have a couple of grapes because I appreciate it.
Sounds fun.
I don't think that would have been a show that you might have been like, yay.
No, yeah, I would have enjoyed seeing it. I had to drive to Georgia though. So.
I appreciate the talent. I really do. You know, what I also appreciate is the audience was full of artists and press, and so there were probably only a couple of people, like maybe 4, that were paying full price to be there, and she went out there and even though she wasn't making a lot of money on that show, was like, I'm going to give you everything I have. And she nailed it. So good for her.
Beautiful. Next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not on your, I got it on mine. WWDD.
Yes.
We both saw this one.
Yes, we went and saw this one. This one was out at Fringe Art Space, which
Great space.
Great space. Beautiful space. Used to be, what was that? The Mad Cow Theater until all that stuff happened. But great space up there. They're actually going to be doing the first ever Outfest, Fringe Outfest, at the end of June in that space.
Which isn't, I feel like we just had Outfest.
Which is a mini Fringe festival focusing on queer shows. So
yes.
Should be a really good time. But this one was Tora Hyman, the drag queen here from Central Florida, telling her life story to Dolly Parton music, but also telling a little bit of Dolly Parton story. I don't know which stories were Tora's or which stories were Dolly, but they were all stories that were delightful.
I definitely wrote this down. At times, I wasn't sure if she was telling her story or Dolly's story. And in fact, there was a comment about milking 300 cows, and I'm like, did she milk 300 cows or did Dolly milk 300 cows? I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a lot of cows a day. That's a lot of teat.
Because I didn't have my notebook with me, so I didn't make a note. But I think that when she had the Dolly wig on, she was telling Dolly's story, and when the wig was off and she was getting changed, she was telling her stories. I think.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
I will say this about it. I think that it is immensely brave to get on a stage alone and pour your personal soul out into a show. So this is like we've seen shows that are written, and I think that's, it's difficult to do a one-person show for an hour and keep the audience's attention, but the added element of it being your story and your trauma and all of that, I think that adds a level of bravery that I have a lot of respect for. It doesn't always land, but I definitely have respect for that, for doing that. There's just this, it's difficult when you have a show that's based on audience reaction and there's not a large audience to react, or the audience isn't giving you the reaction that you want.
Yeah.
Then you tend to, I think like comedians do this a lot, and they tend to sort of like say, oh, you must not be drunk enough. That's why you're not laughing at my jokes, or that's why you're not doing this. When in reality, I just don't like audience participation.
Yeah.
But definitely,
which we'll talk about in a future show.
I did not have enough to drink.
Yeah.
I never do.
I will. One of the things that I mentioned this to you as we were leaving the show, when we went into the show, I thought I was a Dolly Parton fan. But like half these songs I had never heard of, and I was like, maybe I'm not as big a Dolly fan as I thought I was.
Most of them,
yeah.
Not.
I mean, she did 9 to 5, which I knew, and she did Joseph's Technicolor Coat. from the Appalachian
Coat of
songs,
Many
yeah.
Colors.
And she did "I Will Always Love You." But like outside of those three, I didn't know any of the other songs.
Yeah. I thought it was an odd choice to do "I Will Always Love You" in complete falsetto.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think it didn't work.
I don't sing. I don't know what any of that means.
Upper range. Singing like Mickey Mouse talks.
Oh, gotcha.
But I will say that I would watch any show Tora Hyman's going to do as Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that was I enjoyed that aspect of it.
That hair was teased all the way to the heavens.
Gee, was it? No, it was Hedwig. I was watching Hedwig. Okay, so you've seen the movie. You know, during Wig in a Box, the song "Wig in a Box," where she takes off the wig and it's going through other wigs. Anyway, there's a part where she does that. There were these. I can't believe I didn't talk about that. Listen, if y'all are listening to this, if you are, I don't know, let's just say middle-aged St. Pete women who are in real estate, and you went to see Hedwig on the night that I went to see, and we're sitting next to me. Hey, guess what? You're not the show. No one wants to hear you the whole time.
Yeah, we've talked about this a couple of times.
Oh my God,
theater etiquette.
It was the worst. Okay, so it was the worst. They were just like when Hedwig took the wig off. I guess they didn't like the wig, so they took the wig off, and one of them went, "Thank God." Good Lord. And then they were like laughing and talking. One of them spilled a drink on themselves. And like, if you can't handle yourself at a show, don't get tanked before you go in.
Yeah. Or if you can't handle your alcohol, don't drink in public.
Right. Or maybe I got a seat next to you at a meeting. But it was just so obnoxious. And then they decided. So in the show, Hedwig has this huge breakthrough moment where it's like taking ownership of all of Hedwig's trauma, all of the things that have happened, and saying, "I'm a beautiful person, stripped down to nothing. I'm a beautiful person." And it is this moment where they literally strip down to just like boxer briefs. And while the song's going on, two of them decided they were ready to leave. So they turn on their flashlights. 3 people turn on the flashlights on their phone and start looking around for all their crap. And then they get up. And if you've never been to American Stage Theater, you have to walk directly in front of the stage to leave. And they're just walking right past Hedwig, who's having this big breakdown moment in the show. And I was just like, oh, these people. Sorry that I went through that. I don't know why. You must have said something that triggered that. And I was like, I'm going to get these cards made that talk about this podcast, and I'm going to start handing them to people that annoy me when I'm like, you're a terrible audience member, and I'm going to talk about you. Here, listen.
I'm sure they're listening now.
They always do.
Probably regretting their decisions. She's calling. She'll be like, "Donna, he mentioned us on the podcast. We need to cut our drinking down."
No, they're probably like, let's drive around and throw away every copy of Watermark we find, and we'll show him.
Was that them drinking?
Isn't that how it goes?
Yeah, that's how the bottle sounds.
I mean, I forget. It's been 9 years, but
So the next show that we're going to talk about, we didn't see.
No. So I want to say this to these people. Like, listen,
this is
it's
not
your
you,
fault.
It's him.
It's me. Yeah, it's not you, it's me for sure. So we go to Stardust to see Harlivy's it's Harlivy's bachelorette party whodunit mystery.
Yeah. I'm looking up the title now. But yeah, it's where the hell did it go?
I have
Who put this alphabetically? Harlivy's Bachelorette Whodunit, and it's the Bombshells cosplay. So they are cosplayers who dress as usually I think they're mostly DC, but I think there's some Marvel superheroes in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it. And so
Well, you have to because we didn't see the show.
So we go to see the show. Now, it's very important to say, like I said it earlier, I'm just not a fan of audience participation. I just want you to do the show. That's all. I don't want to be a part of it. And there was one show I saw where somebody would say, if you don't want to be a part of it, pretend like you're clutching your pearls and I won't pick you. And I totally appreciate that because, you know, it's a weird thing. I'm like a theater major. Why don't I want to be on stage and do it? I just don't want to be part of your show. I don't want to mess your show up. So you pick somebody else. So I avoid it. And unfortunately, they weren't, like, usually they're categorized as what has audience participation and what doesn't. So we show up at Stardust, we check in to go to this thing. When I go into a theater and it's a Fringe show, I pick the seats that are the hardest to get to, because in my brain, it means that the actors won't come to me to pull me on stage because it's too difficult to get there. We walk into this place, and it's like cabaret style. And all, like, around the three walls of this room are seats in cabarets, and they're all easy to get to. And then there's like 5 or 6 tables in the middle with seats at them. Now, all the ones along the wall are taken, so the ones dead center are the ones that are available. So we sit down, and I'm like, there's no escape. And so then I noticed that all of the actors, the show hasn't started yet. It's 5 minutes before the show starts, but all the actors seem to be in the room already, and there's no stage. So I'm thinking, this is going to happen all around us. Like, this is immersive, and we're going to be part of the show. So I look at Jeremy, and I was like, is this audience participation? And so he looks it up and reads the description of it. And for me, it was the line that says, you will look for clues to decide who committed this murder. And I said,
Yeah, it says, find hidden clues, question guests, and collect rumors from suspects to find the murderer.
so I left.
So he said, we're going. And we left and didn't see the show.
But but the costumes are great. I'm sure it's a great show. It's just a little too immersive for me. I just didn't. It was like the having to go around and talk to people and stuff like that. It's just not a show that was built for me. But I'm sure it was great because the costumes look great. I'll say that.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add. He was my ride, so I had to leave too.
It was my fault. I apologize. I'll do better next.
However,
you will send somebody.
Since I do want to talk about something that happened that night, I did have an amazing ice cream bowl where the bowl was made of churro from a food truck out front the theater from a very handsome, attractive Spanish man.
I was like, you're not going to pretend that it was the ice cream and the
Oh.
churro bowl that was exciting about that.
The beautiful man inside the truck giving me ice cream and churros is like a dream.
I wish that everybody could. I wish I had videotaped this because this guy was like, he leans forward and he's got like this. It's this sort of.
It's like an Antonio Banderas.
That's exactly
accent.
what I was going to say.
And he's like, "What can I get for you?" And I was like,
and it was kind of talking like,
Yeah.
He's like, would you like the Oreos?
And I was like,
Would you like the Butterfingers?
yeah, because he's like, "What are gonna get you?" And I was like, ice cream. You want ice cream? And I was like, yes, ice cream.
Jeremy starts doing it. He's like,
And I was
okay.
like, in a churro bowl. And he goes, what topping would you like? And I was like,
Yeah.
topping? And he goes, do you like Nutella? Do you like chocolate? Do you want this, that? And I was like, Nutella? And he goes, would you like Oreos on top? And I was like, yes, please. Put the Oreos on top.
I was like, do you need me to leave you alone for a minute?
God, he was hot and sexy with that voice and that accent. God, I'm
churro-
going back for churros every Saturday.
The churro bowl looked good.
The bowl was very good too. Yeah, it was. I mean, the whole experience was amazing. If that was a Fringe show, that gets 7 grapes.
That gets a whole bundle.
That gets a bushel. Do grapes come in bushels?
I don't know.
I don't know. Whatever grapes come in,
They
that's
come
what
in
he
bunches.
gets.
No, what is it? I don't know.
He gets a bunch of grapes.
You would
from
think
me.
that we should probably up our grape game if we're going to talk grapes a lot.
Indeed.
Then I put the show down because I wanted to just talk about it for a hot second.
Yes.
It is my favorite show that I've seen at Fringe
He's
from
done
year
it like
to year
7
to year.
or 8 iterations of
And
this
I love
show.
it. And it's called God is a Scottish Drag Queen. It's Mike Delamont. He puts on a skirt and in his Irish accent talks about everything that's wrong in the world that God gets blamed for. And he's like, it's not my fault, it's yours. It's hilarious. And I love it. And I'm very sad to say that I didn't get to see it.
You had tickets.
I did. I
then
had
it got
tickets,
canceled.
and then on Friday morning, I got notice that the last 2 shows of God is a Scottish Drag Queen had been canceled, and it wouldn't be happening. And I was like, oh. Then I find out that the other show that he is in is still happening. And I was like, well, what's going on here? And I'm sad to say I will not be seeing God is a Scottish Drag Queen ever again. And it's I don't really get this way about things, but for some reason this just annoyed me. Now this is all going to be a rumor. It's all you know how like something will happen and you'll hear piece by piece from all of these people something that happened. Well, there's this thing with Fringe shows, right? It's all timed immaculately. So if you
Oh, we'll get to that. But yeah, the show starts on time.
the show starts on time and it ends on time.
Yeah.
And if your show, like if you have an hour-long show, at 1 hour, the technicians are instructed to turn the lights up. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you are in your show. The lights come up and the show ends at 1 hour, if that's the amount of time that you have.
Yeah.
So what I heard, now I'm just saying this is what I heard.
Allegedly.
He had about 30 seconds left in his show, and they turned the lights up.
Mm.
Now, there's all kinds of rumors going around about what happened and what went on. Like somebody said somebody was in the sound booth saying, he still has 2 minutes, don't do it. And somebody was saying, no, it's time, I've got to do this. And they turned it up. Then I talked to somebody who was in the audience, and they didn't know anything wrong happened. They were like, it seemed like the show was over and the lights came up and that was where it ended. It was perfectly fine. So to the audience, it's perfectly fine. But from what I heard is that the show wasn't over and the lights came up and this guy was very angry and canceled his last 2 shows.
Mm.
And that makes me not happy. So listen, if you're listening and that's not how it went down, shoot me an email at wwn@watermarkonline.com. I'd be happy to correct my statements and go see the show because I think it's hilarious. But I also just I don't appreciate it because it affected me not seeing other shows. And, I try to see as many things as possible. And that one was like, oh, that one was for me. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. So I didn't.
Well, that's a shame.
So then I didn't go see the other one either.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen 2 or 3 iterations of this, and it's a good show.
It is. Yeah, and he did one time he did a devil one where he played the devil, and it was hilarious because he dressed up like that dude from that town hall. You know what I'm talking about? The guy who asked the question at the town hall meeting who became like super famous wearing a sweater and a tie.
Oh, yeah.
I forget his name, but it's a shame. It's a shame that, don't meet your heroes, I guess. But I'm happy to correct it if I'm wrong. So if I'm wrong, please tell me. So next up was Nick and Elvis's love story, which I will tell you that I
didn't see it.
I went to see it because you said you wanted to see it and didn't. So I saw it. And you know what? It's very short.
Yes, it's the shortest show that I saw this year, or that I was on the schedule this year. It was like 35 minutes, I think is what it's listed.
It was short, and that's not a bad thing.
I will say, while I didn't see the show, I did research it when we were putting the listings together. And Nick, who I don't see his last name listed here, that it's a relationship that supposedly Nick and Elvis had. That it's all fabricated and they never really had a relationship. Like they were friends, but there's no sexual tension between the two of them because apparently Nick was homophobic. So,
well, I mean, I think that still could have been. I mean, there are homophobic senators, I think, that are having sex with boys.
But usually you can find information. There is nothing I could find in research at all that said that they had any kind of sexual relationship.
Yeah, there was nothing in this show that indicated that they had intended to be in love and live a life together. They were both going to get married. They were just having a relationship, which is fine. This is one of those shows where it seemed like there was a lot of novice to it, so I think over time, like they'll just get better at what they're doing, and they just they enjoy what they're doing, and it's good to see shows like that. I would say if this show in particular was there next year, I don't know that I would need to see it again.
Yeah.
But good for them for going out there and doing their thing.
Yeah. Who doesn't love Elvis? Moving on.
I love this one.
Dungeons and Drag Queens, 2nd edition.
I just love it. I don't know why. I don't like Dungeons and Dragons. I just think that they do it so well. Did you see the movie? Isn't there a movie that Chris Pine is in that's based on
Dungeons and Dragons? Yeah.
Okay. No, it's something. It's based on the game, and it's called something with a D.
Dungeons
I
and
could
Dragons.
do this for hours. Oh, that makes me laugh. It reminds me of that Kids in the Hall skit about Citizen Kane. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It's hilarious.
I don't know her. But yeah, so I didn't see this is the second edition. I didn't see the first one when it came out. You did.
It's Wayward Queers Production. Wayward Queers Productions. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a merging of drag queens and Dungeons and Dragons. It was out at the Renaissance Theater, and I had a delightful time. It was a very
so
good show.
It's the cast is super talented. It's obviously written very well. It's directed very well. So you get that combination. You don't always get like the combination, the trifecta of great acting, great writing, and great directing.
And they do this thing that I noticed has become popular. Back when I first came out and started seeing drag queens perform, it was always drag queens always lip sync. But I'm seeing more and more drag queens who sing in their own voice, and so many talented singers in this.
So many. So many. And the costumes are great, and the storyline's great. Now, Jen says it was the same basic storyline as last year. I don't really remember. I don't remember. But it was just really good. That I can say about it. I really enjoy it.
And just from a personal standpoint, anything Mr. Miss Adrian is in, I love. I adore him.
They were great in it, and as the dungeon master, and did a really good job. I'll say, like, what I really appreciate about it is the commitment of this thing. And like, if you've ever I watched people play Dungeons and Dragons once, and it's just painful. If you're not playing, it's like 7 hours of torture. And because they talk in this character, but they're not like actors. They're just kind of like Mountain Dew drinkers. Which is true. And roll
emails
these
can be sent
I know.
to wwn@watermarkonline.com.
I'm talking about the one group that I sat in on and watched.
And
Actually,
I'll just say, D&D
groups.
folks, they will not hesitate to send an email.
Hey, we love to hear from you. And tell me which flavor of Mountain Dew you drink. I bet it's Code Red. No, it's not Code Red anymore, is it? There's another one. Is it Starry?
I'm not up on my Mountain Dew flavors. I don't drink soda.
I don't know why I know
often.
so much about it. I just really, I've watched people play the game, but watching like professional actors like really bring it to life, super interesting. So I love the idea. Like they go into the thing and they're like, hey, let's look at what's going on. But then you have to roll the dice, and then the dungeon master gets to tell you how well you did and how much you get to learn about a space. So it's just that. For some reason, they tie that all together so well, and it's such a good show.
Yeah, I really do. I'm not somebody who plays Dungeons and Dragons, but for some reason, I love all media tied around Dungeons and Dragons. So I love this show. There's an animated show on Prime, Amazon Prime, called Vox Machina that is amazing, and I love it. It's a Dungeons and Dragons show. I love Stranger Things, which is all tied around Dungeons and Dragons. I loved the Chris Pine movie. I don't have the creative skill to create a character to sit down and do it myself.
Right.
I would be too self-conscious.
And I don't have the imagination to carry it through the way that they do. So, while I was watching people play Dungeons and Dragons, I was texting Jen about what was happening around me, and we were coming up with some pretty fun things for us to laugh about. Like,
you had your own side quest.
We did. Every time they would do a perception check, I would text Jen and be like, I think they found a unicorn in the corner of the ceiling, and we would laugh.
You guys were
they never
the
did.
two old guys from the Muppets watching them play.
Just the too old.
Too old.
Period. That's us.
Too old. Period. But yeah, I liked it. I thought the show was really great.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I went to see. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You startled me.
Sorry if you were driving in your car listening to this and all of a sudden I yelled, yeah.
I got scared for a minute.
Sorry. So then, what do you have the I only wrote It's Alive. I don't have the whole name.
It's Alive, a Monster Burlesque.
By the Speakeasy Sirens. This is where I will say this about Fringe this year.
I just want to preface, whenever you say a new show, I will say if I was there or not. I did not see this one.
So everything that's about to happen is 100% my opinion.
A Monster Burlesque.
I don't know if you noticed this in the shows that you saw, but I feel like air conditioning was a problem this year at Fringe.
Everyone did seem moist.
It was like at one show they were handing out programs and they were like, we don't want the program. They're like, you're gonna want the program. It'll make a nice fan.
In fact, we didn't mention this at Tora Hyman's. Her programs were fans because she was like,
and it was
it's gonna be hot in there.
It was really the majority of the shows, and some of them were so hot I was sweating. This one was so hot I kept nodding in and out of consciousness. It was just warm, and I was miserable and
Hot
fell asleep.
in heat and presentation.
So my when I critique it, let's just keep that in mind. Like here's what I'm sure there was a storyline to it, but what kept happening to me is I would doze off while people were talking, and then music would start really loudly, and I'd open my eyes, and there'd be somebody undressing on stage. So it was a burlesque show about monsters and a lot of taking off of clothes.
It's tied around the Universal classic monsters, Dracula, Frankenstein, werewolves.
Where I remember Wolfie.
Loch Ness Monster? No, not Loch. Creature from the Black Lagoon. Was he there? Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera was there.
Oh, all right. Bride of Frankenstein.
Yes.
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
I don't know.
Slept through that one. I heard that was the pinnacle.
I'll say, but I want to throw this out there too because Bubba had seen it. Bubba, who was the admin here at Watermark, they saw it and they said it was great. So
I mean, it's another one of those things where if you're a fan of burlesque and you're a fan of old classic Universal monsters, you probably love it.
Yeah, and this is
if you're
your
a fan
show.
of people taking their clothes off, you probably like it.
I am not necessarily a fan. I'm not a burlesque person.
Yeah.
Do you know when I think of burlesque, I think of Gypsy Rose Lee. And I think of like big feathery things. I think of like slowly taking gloves off and that kind of stuff. But we're going to get to a burlesque show in a few minutes that I have a totally different opinion of. So the next one is, and I'm sorry you didn't get to see this one.
I do want to say before, because this one I didn't see, but I did see what I think is one of the fans of the show walking around. And speaking of hot.
Oh, Becoming Santa?
Yeah, Becoming Santa. There was a gentleman walking around with, I'm assuming was his girlfriend, because they were seeing everything together, and they were wearing Becoming Santa shirts, like advertising it. And damn, that boy was hot.
Yeah, they either hired the hot guy to wear the shirt to walk around and get people's attention, or this Becoming Santa is put on by Drama Jock Productions, which is stationed here in Claremont, or right next door to Claremont.
He's local?
Yeah. And so he is either just part of that and wasn't cast in the show, and so he's helping them out to promote it, or they hired the hot guy. He is a very good-looking guy.
Very good looking.
I just cannot tell you enough how much I love this show. It's interesting, and I got to try to use my words. Do you think that anyone under the age of 15 listens to this show? Because I don't want to ruin things for them, like life in general.
I mean, we can preface it. If you are under the age of 15, tread with caution, because we're about to ruin your childhood.
Yeah, so don't listen. Oh, I think I worded it a different way, so let's just say this. It is, so the theater was like boiling hot. And Dylan this time was having a hard time staying awake in it because it was so warm in the theater. But I was so interested in what they were doing, and I thought they were so talented that it kept my attention. It is a series of many, many vignettes that are about kids learning about Santa.
Yes.
And it's just delightful because it's like the parents trying so hard to keep this fantasy alive for their kids, but the kids figuring out like what Christmas is all about or how it's run. Let's just say that. And so it was all fascinating.
In their breakdown of the show, they have a good warning. It says, this play will reveal a lot about the big man in the red suit. So if your children are still dreaming of sugar plums, it's best to skip this story for now.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
So, but there's a gay vignette, and it's adorable. It's just it's the most adorable thing because they're gonna decorate cookies, but they're trying to get their daughter to help decorate the cookies, and she's like, "I'm not decorating cookies for someone that doesn't exist." And the one father like has to convince her that it's all still real, and so he comes up with this explanation, and she's like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." And then they both laugh because they're like, "Wow, that was easy." And then they go back to decorating cookies, and it's great. But it's just really cute. But there's a through line to it all, that there's this one guy whose childhood was ruined by this revelation, and no one ever really kept the magic there. So he hated Christmas because he wanted that Christmas magic. And it was this, spoiler, he gets it, and Santa visits him, and it's this really special moment. But there's one that, I almost cried during it. I heard somebody saying before we walked in that they cried during the show, and I was like, all right. What is it? I've never cried at a Fringe show, I don't think. But there's a scene where there was a kid who was at school, and he was getting kind of bullied by everybody because they're like, your parents are Santa, your parents are Santa. And he didn't have parents because he was in foster care. And so they were like, Santa's not going to visit you because you don't have real parents. And so he was really upset about that. And he goes home and he tells his foster parents that Santa's not going to visit him because he doesn't have a real family. And they're like, we're your real family. And so then the father goes and gets a present for the kid and gives it to him, and it's his adoption paperwork. And we're all like, oh, that's so sweet.
Did you cry?
I almost did. I really did. I pretended I was just sweating from my eyes in the hot theater. So really good show. I was really impressed with them, and I'm glad they're local because now we can look them up and see things that they do because they were really good.
I'll be looking them up.
When's Hot Santa Guy going to be on the
I'll
show?
be becoming Santa, if you know what I mean.
For all of our nerd listeners, I will say this. And for you, there was a really funny scene where, so the way that kids would figure this out was funny because like this girl got a present from Santa and she's like, oh, this is great. And she opens it. And then to be cute, this father and his new wife, the stepmom, she gives him a gift from Santa, or she gives him a gift, but it's in the same wrapping paper as the wrapping paper that the girl got from Santa. And so she's like, wait a minute. Why is my wrapping paper the same as his? And so this must not be real. And so the stepmother starts crying because she's like, your mom's gonna kill me for ruining this. And that was adorable. But another one was a kid was watching TV and he saw like a Santa on there, and Santa was black and he's white. So he's always been told Santa was white. So he asked his mom why Santa was black, and he's obviously like into Marvel because he's got like a Marvel hat on. Mm-hmm. So she says that Santa's part of the multiverse, and that there are 365 different universes, and Christmas is a different day in each universe. But what happens is all 365 Santas come together and help every day. They're helping deliver presents to whatever planet or whatever universe they're part of. And the kid's like, oh, that makes sense.
Seems legit.
And then the mom's like, whoo, hilarious. It was really good. It was all kinds of, all the emotions, all the greatness. Very impressed with it.
Nice.
Then I saw Tonight, improv comedy talk show, which was at Savoy.
Yep, didn't see that one.
So this is an interesting concept because when you get in, it's like improv, right? So everybody knows when you go see improv, they're going to ask you for suggestions. So, but what he does at the very beginning is he's like, everybody write down a question. His theme is don't be a dick. So I appreciate saying that. So at any question, you just write down a question, and it goes into a bucket. Another one is you can write down a line of dialogue. Could be from a movie or a TV show or anything. So you write that down and put it in a bucket, and then write down a headline and put it in a bucket. And so then he does these little typical talk show shticks, and when he, then he'll pull things out of the bucket throughout the show. So it was a good show. I enjoyed it greatly. I don't think it's because he's a master of improv. I just think that the audience was funny. The people that were helping involved made it really interesting and funny. I was talking to somebody else about it, and we're like, well, he wasn't really a comedian and didn't really like the comebacks to the things that he was reading weren't weren't A+ lines. But all in all, I would go see the show multiple times because different audience members make it really great. Like there's a thing where he pulled somebody on stage and they had to play games, kind of like in that Jimmy Fallon thing, where he was going to give the person he brought on stage 30 seconds to take a selfie with somebody in the audience. And one of them was like, find the person who's seen the most Friends shows and get a selfie with them. But one of them was find the kinkiest person in the audience and take a selfie with them. Well, somebody had a baby, like a baby, 6 months old maybe, in the audience. And she thought he said, find the kickiest person. And she's like, babies kick all the time. So she ran to the baby and took a selfie with the baby.
Well, that's awkward.
All cracking up. And then the guy goes, this is the one really funny thing he said. He's like, well, I mean, The baby does have a nipple fetish.
Oh.
And then he kept referring how we were kink shaming a baby. It was pretty funny, So, like I said, it was the audience really made it a fun show. And then he had a newscaster, like a local, I think it was Channel 6 affiliate newscaster, and while she was up there, she did make a comment about like that line from Sweet Home Alabama, where she's like, "You have a baby and a bar." So that's pretty funny. So anyway, it was a good show. I would go see it. I'd go see it all the time.
Nice.
He did bring a grinder date on stage too.
Oh.
He was trying to. He said when you're in a BYOV, bring your own venue theater, you have to be very creative on how to get people there. So he went on Grinder.
All right.
And would invite people to go. So then we saw A Drag Is Born. I saw A Drag Is Born.
I didn't see this one either.
Now this is one of those shows where where it's like experimental theater to me, and like people raved about this show. It was not my taste, but I get why people liked it. But it's a 1 hour show of one person on stage, and they do not talk. And it is a drag show where they do not talk. But it's sort of like he starts off as an audience member who, like, the lights come up and there's no one on stage. And so he's like...
yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, and he's like, so it's like, all right, well, there's no one on stage, so I'm going to leave. And then a spotlight hits him and music plays, and he goes up on stage, and he's like, oh, should I talk? It's just those bits went on for a little bit for me. Like, if this was a 30-minute show, it probably would have been way better. But because he was like, oh, should I go on stage? But he's like... And then people are like, yay! And he's like, yay! I'm like, get on this stage already! So, but people really enjoyed it. And he was very committed to it and did a good job. Oh, but when he went up to talk on the microphone, this is like what made me like, this is going to be a good show, is he went up to talk, and then as soon as he opened his mouth, like, Hello from Adele started playing. And I thought that was hilarious.
Beautiful.
Speaking of beautiful...
Oh. This one, I have a story for this one. I didn't see it, but I have a story for it. The next one is a City Beautiful story, Tragedy at Hotel San Juan, which I've heard nothing but good things about.
Cheesy Pizza Productions.
Yes, and they did a City Beautiful last year or the year before. This is sort of like a unofficial sequel to that show. So we had gotten tickets to it. I left the house late and was rushing there, and with traffic and trying to find, let me just say, finding parking at the Fringe Festival is an event all in its own.
On a Friday.
And
on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this wasn't a Friday.
Wasn't it?
It was a Thursday. Yeah. No, I went to Georgia on Friday.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, right. It was Thursday.
Yeah. So I got there, got to the theater, 2 minutes. They hadn't even started the show. I heard the start of the show. And the door person, bless their heart, that's their job. Fringe shows start on time. If you're not there when the show starts, they don't let you in.
These are the rules.
So much like a sinner who is forced to stand outside the gates of heaven, I listened to the show and everyone cheer. And one of the performers, I guess, came in through the entrance for his performance. So I did get to meet him in the lobby. So it was like getting to see one of the actors, and they're like, this show's not for you because you weren't on time. And then he went in, and I went back to playing Uno and listening to the show, and it sounded fantastic.
I have to say that I really like this. Now I hope I get all this right. So is it Riza Risque?
Yes.
That is who won the Wave Award for Favorite Performer 2024?
Yes. Yeah. They also won the year before for this show. They won Favorite Show for that year.
Right. And that is that's the character name of the person. I believe it's Marissa who started Blacklist Babes, which are the burlesque performers that do these shows. And what they do is they take this story of some story about Orlando that people may not know very well, and they create a musical burlesque show about it. I did not see the show last year, which I think was all about the founding of Orlando, and this was about...
They performed part of it at our wave party. Yeah.
And this was about this hotel, San Juan, and the history of it and when it started and what it was. And for a while, it was a gay hotel. I had no idea. Did a whole documentary about the history of Orlando. Not once did the San Juan Hotel come up at anything that we talked about. But it's just incredible. I had seen a string of shows that were kind of things that I was like, oh well, I get it. It's it's like the parodies, the things like that. This was the show that I saw where it changed all of Fringe this season for me. It was just so well done. I mean, everybody was so talented. They command that stage, and I'm not really into burlesque, but this was different. It was fascinating and entertaining, and it was sexy, and it was everything. And so the person that you saw, the tall guy,
yeah,
great. So good. Oh, was actually the person that won that Doug Bowser Award last year. Yeah, they were great. And I mean, there was there was somebody, they didn't have dressing rooms. They just all that happened right there. If they needed to change their costume for something, they did. And one person changed down to like only a sock on their downstairs and walked around on stage like that too.
Well, that would be why under this show contains itless nudity.
So very, very, very handsome. But the whole show itself, I'm just so impressed by the creator of this that they write, they direct, they star in it. They Bradley Cooper it, but in a really good way. And I'm very impressed with it.
Nice. Sounded legit. Sounded like a good show.
Like they host karaoke at I think at the Ivanhoe place next to Savoy on I think Tuesday nights. I haven't been yet, but I need to go all the time because I'm such a fan of theirs.
Next show. Oh, I saw this one. Pride, Prejudice, and Promposals, a modern-day reimagining of the classic set to the music of Taylor Swift. So it's basically Pride and Prejudice to the music of Taylor Swift.
I did not get that at all.
Oh, really?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh.
I didn't realize it was a story of Pride and Prejudice.
You didn't notice the main British guy's last name was Darcy?
That's hilarious. I even did I did a research project in high school on Pride and Prejudice. I can tell you I didn't. I cliff noted that thing.
Yeah.
No idea that it had to do with Pride and Prejudice. I just thought it was like pride flags, yay. And
Oh.
prejudice, like we hate the gays.
Well, I mean, that factors into it. But it's Pride and Prejudice.
I'm an idiot. All right. Don't listen to my opinions on any of this. I'm stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's if you watched if you watch any of those kind of teen comedy movies on Netflix, there's been a bunch of them out. One of my personal favorites on Amazon Prime, Red, White, and Royal Blue. It kind of has that feel to it. There's a British brothers who come over here. One of them is like super popular on social media, so they're super excited that he's going to be at this. I believe it's a religious private school because they wear uniforms and stuff.
You do have to suspend a little disbelief to feel like these two brothers are in high school.
Right, and they make comment on that.
And came from London.
The accents are
here and there.
They're an attempt at Brit.
For people of a certain age, it was a lot like it was the Kevin Costner school of British accents.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of them walks around with his shirt off most of the time, and he's got amazing abs. So no harm.
And
foul,
I do
no harm, foul,
although
no
I
harm,
do,
no foul.
I often critique like super queer characters being stereotypically queer. But the person who did constantly scream out, "Show us your abs," I didn't hate that.
Yeah.
Because usually you got to see abs after it.
Yeah. So you've got them, then you've got the main character, who would be the main character from Pride
Darcy?
and Prejudice. No, Darcy's the boy. Who's the girl?
Oh.
Come on, you did
Jane?
a report on this. Jane Austen wrote it. Whatever Bridget Jones. That's a Pride and Prejudice retelling that I adore and love. So I will just use Bridget Jones characters. Bridget Jones and Mr. Darcy. Obviously, they don't like each other in the beginning, and there's that kind of teen comedy banter back and forth, like, "Oh my God, you're so dumb," and "Oh my God, you're so klutzy." That was my British accent.
It tracks.
Yeah. I could have been in this show. But the guy who plays Mr. Darcy is obviously not in high school, and there's a lot of jokes pointed to why are these 30-year-olds in high school, and they poke fun at themselves and the genre, and it was a lot of fun. Some good voices, some not great voices, but I thought it was a fun, goofy Disney Nickelodeon style fun romp told through the music of Taylor Swift, which I'm embarrassed to say I knew more of the Taylor Swift songs than the Dolly Parton songs that were sung in the Double D show.
I will agree with that. I did too, but I just think it's because Double D picked some obscure Dolly songs.
Yeah.
Hard Candy Christmas, you got to put that in there. Islands in the
Much
Stream.
like that show, those are Dolly songs, not Taylor songs.
Yeah.
we gotta differentiate.
I gotta say, your assessment of the show being a Nickelodeon style kind of thing is right on. And the as I think back on it, I think I enjoyed it more than I thought I did right off the bat. I do not enjoy sometimes you'll get performers who are in the audience who like to perform so much that they have to be part of the show when they're not cast in the show.
Are not audience participation, and you need to recognize the difference.
Right. So just because you're a Swiftie doesn't mean you have to sing every Taylor Swift song in my ear while the people on stage are supposed to be performing it. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not at a concert. If you're at a concert, sing along. That's what you're there for.
Yeah.
No, not for Now, at the end of it, they did ask you to sing along, and that's when you should belt out, and you sure did. So good for you.
Yeah, and it, if you're curious, it was Shake 'Em Off. That's the song they finished it with, and everyone sang it, and it was a good time. And yeah, I thought it was charming and adorable, much in the way that I obsessed over Red, White, Royal Blue. Now, this was no Red, White, and Royal Blue, but few things are. No. But I saw what they were going with, and I thought it was cute. I thought it was charming.
I thought it was too. I thought that the mother's transformation was
very
a little
rushed.
Boom.
It's like, shit, we got 6 minutes, and they're about to Scottish drag queen us and turn the lights up. We need to wrap this up. And she's like, oh, I've changed. Let's move along.
Yeah, like, well, it was like, I hate the gays. And then it's like, Mom, I'm bringing my boyfriend to prom. I love you.
Yeah. Which, I mean, is great. She was like, you know what? I've been so close-minded. Now that I have a son who has come out of the closet, I will embrace the homosexuals.
Yes.
The girls, gays, and theys, as they say. They're not. Thank you. But yeah, I thought it was a cute show. And I learned that I know a lot more Taylor Swift songs than I thought I did.
And then we saw Medlin the Deucicle.
This is much like the Grinch one we talked about.
Yes.
This is one that it's a Scooby-Doo parody. And if you're not into Scooby-Doo or you didn't enjoy Scooby-Doo, then you might not like this one. I thought, again, very cute and very kitschy. It's Joel Swanson who did the White Lotus Orlando last year. And he does the I'm doing this with my hand like a puppet because he does the frog pig.
Oh, I never saw that.
Yeah, it's cute. I like it.
I hear like great things about it.
I'm surprised because you like puppet. No, Jen likes puppets.
I would, bring it back. I want to go see that.
Yeah,
this is one of those that it's like, it's as full of that stereotypical, gay, jokes of like everything's so overly sexualized in some of their characters, like in White Lotus, but I think it's supposed to be campy and over the top, and that's the shtick of it all, and that's great.
Yeah.
This is like one of the people I'm talking about where Joel Swanson Productions put it together. Joel Swanson is going to be sort of, I'm sure, Fringe legendary in the grand scheme of his career at doing Fringe.
Yeah,
because he is always gets high accolades for the shows that he produces, and I think that over time, like that's what's going to happen. These great,
and he's already.
big productions.
I mean, we're just a few days outside of Fringe being over, and he's already posting up. He's got a show that's coming to the Outfest at the end of June. And I don't know if this was a tease just because of this musical or if he was teasing it, but in this musical, because they go to a religious camp, and the show that they're doing is called Jesus the Juicicle. And he posted up a poster of it on his social media saying, coming next year. So I'm hoping next year at Fringe we'll see Jesus the Juiceable, because I definitely want to check that out.
Which of the apostles do you think will be the campy, over-the-top queer character?
Oh, who's the one? You saw Da Vinci Code? Did you see the movie or read the book?
I didn't retain it.
Are you aware of the Last Supper painting?
Yes.
Okay, who's the one who looks like a chick but is like it's on the opposite side, they make a V? I feel like Ian McKellen from that movie. Look at the cup. It's now a vagina. Jesus is leaning off to one side, and then it looks like, I've always thought it was a female. I thought it was Mary Magdalene who was in the painting, but apparently the feminine looking one is a man. That is who it will be. Caitlin's going to look it up right now. If you're familiar with The Last Supper, if you look, right, we have it pulled up on the screen here. See how it makes a V?
That one?
Yeah, that one right there. That's a man. And I don't know which apostle that is, but that is going to be the campy gay one. I believe that's John.
Well, they all look pretty genderqueer.
Well, I mean, a lot of them have beards. I think that helps to differentiate. But that one, growing up, always thought that was Mary. And it is not. Anyway, that one will be.
I'm putting my vote in for Judas.
All
right. And so then after that, you did not see this one, but the Bottleneck Effects by the Foxy Traveler Productions. Now, see, one of the things that doesn't happen, and I guess it's because of cost, but like there aren't programs.
It's John.
That tracks. There aren't programs. So like, I can't. It's difficult. They'll have QR codes, but I can't have like 15 tabs open for a week trying to decipher who's who and what kind of cast. Mm-hmm. But who wrote this? They won an award. They won the Doug Bowser Award this year.
Oh,
I didn't catch their name.
I don't know.
But they wrote this show and they play a drag queen in the show. I don't know if they're a drag queen outside of this show, but that was the most delightful character of any show I saw, and I do think that was well deserved. My favorite part of the show, my favorite part of any show, was this person. What I struggle with this show is that it was very like we got an old guy who hates young guys. We got the douchey son of a oil tycoon, and we've got the angsty protester Gen Z person, and then you've got like the like a stereotypical bartender type, and then you've got the stereotypical politician who's fake and just wants your vote kind of a thing, and they all end up in this bar together and try to fight out humanity. And so it was a little, it could be a little two-dimensional at times with that, but in the grand scheme it all comes out that we're all just do what you want to do, what makes you happy in life, and that we all are the same and we all can get along, was the outcome of it all. But there's this one thing that happened, so I just want to say this one thing because I just can't let it go. It's like The Bear winning Best Comedy. I can't let it go. There's this guy who was like 70 years old, and they called him Gen X. And they were like, they were bringing Gen Z and Gen X into a culture war together, and saying like, called the 70-year-old a latchkey kid, and then said, Gen X thinks they know everything. And I was like, okay, maybe every generation thinks they know everything, but that dude is not Gen X. So I just want to make that very clear, that was Boomer versus Gen Z, not at all Gen X. And I think that Gen X, I saw there was a meme that somebody told me about after I explained this to them, and they were like, don't bring Gen X into this. They're the kind of people that show up to your house. That made me laugh. But it's just so that was kind of weird. But then the other weird thing is they were saying at the end of it, like this guy who drinks every night, drinks himself to sleep, and sleeps at the bar every night, and before they lock up, they put a blanket on him, and they come back in the morning, they take the blanket off, they give him a donut, and he starts drinking again. Like, he was like the hero of the show. I don't understand. They're like, look, he does what he wants, he's happy, let's be like him.
Yeah, I mean, if he's happy, let him do his thing.
Yeah, I mean, who am I to judge?
Anyway, didn't see it.
It's a little stereotypical, but it was. But I will say that the guy who wrote it was my favorite character ever.
Nice.
Then
and you saw one more show.
Yes. Well, two more. One's not on your list. I'm going to talk about the other one for just a hot second because it's great. So I have to talk about it. Queer Up. I saw Queer Up, and this is Natalie Sings, and it's basically a show about her life, and it is delightful. It really was. I didn't know what to expect, going in there, and it just, I think you get a lot of these cabaret kind of shows where like, here's my life story, and this was really good. I really enjoyed it. So congratulations to them. I think they ended up with Patrons Pick for that. They were the nice people that handed out the programs and said it's hot as hell in there, so keep it and fan yourselves. Really good show. So I would give that a thumbs up. Everybody talked about how Cocaine Bear the Opera was incredible. And I hadn't had it on my list because it wasn't like LGBTQ themed according to the check boxes, but it should have been because there was an LGBTQ plus aspect to it. But Cocaine Bear was done by Opera del Sol, written by Eric Pender. Jessica Hahn was in it. I just know her, so I can say her name. It was incredible. They are incredibly talented. And I like this idea that they were like, let's bring opera to people who don't really watch opera, and we're going to do it in a silly way that's going to keep them entertained and make them laugh. And it was silly, and it was like the people are so incredibly talented. Never really sat and listened to opera, and I'm thinking maybe we should. So they took like famous arias and rewrote them to be about Cocaine Bear, which is hilarious.
Yeah,
it was really good.
I didn't see this one, however, I did see Cocaine Bear the movie. Loved it. I enjoy opera, so it's a local troupe who did this, right?
Yeah, Opera del Sol.
So I'm sure, because I did hear a lot of people buzzing about this one. I am sure that they will get a local theater to pick them up for a run sometime this year, as they do with several of the Fringe shows. The Fringe Festival feels like Cannes or Sundance, where it's like you see a bunch of stuff and then the theaters walk around and they're like, "Ooh, we really like that one. We should put a bid on that."
Yeah,
and we're gonna have it run at the Renaissance Theater in July because we're gonna buy that one. So hopefully a couple of these. I hope Cocaine Bear gets picked up because I want to see that. A City Beautiful. I hope that gets picked up because I really like to see that one. But yeah, I mean, there was some really good shows out here.
There really were. There were some standouts.
Yeah.
I think there were people saying it wasn't like that year that Ain't Done Bad showed up and like just floored everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But there were definitely some real good standout performances. For sure.
So like every year for the past 7 years, we did our annual Splash Awards. We put them up when the festival starts, and we let our readers vote on what their favorite LGBTQ shows were. So at the closing ceremonies, they gave us the stage for a few moments.
And we love it that they do this.
Adorable.
We love Fringe.
Wonderful.
Good time.
Fantastic. And the audience gets, maybe they're just being polite, but they cheer for us. And it seems like they like having us there.
Yeah.
So we'll keep doing it as long as you cheer.
I'm always impressed when people just know what we do.
Next year, if we get up there and you boo us, know that will be the last year of the Splash Awards. But we give out 5 awards. Occasionally, some years we'll do editor's picks if something stands out. But I think because there were a bunch of shows that we didn't see together, so we didn't do any editor's picks this year. But we did the standard 5: Best Supporting Performer, Lead Performer, Writer, Director, and Show. So I just want to give a shout out. This was another one I heard a lot of good things about. I didn't get to see. But Billie Jane, who has won Splash Awards in the past, had the Saints of West Orange County, and they won Best Supporting Performer. Hopefully that one gets picked up this year. And
I didn't get to see that either.
Medlin the Doozical, Daisy McCarthy, who played the Velma character. I'll put it in quotes because I don't know if it's copywritten, so it's not Scooby-Doo.
It's a parody, so it's okay.
But the Velma style character, Daisy McCarthy won Best Lead Performer. Joel Swanson also won Best Director for that. Bruce Ryan Costella won Best LGBTQ Writer for Muttnik. I didn't see it this year, but I saw Muttnik when he originally did it. I didn't hear whether he had changed the show or not, but it's he's the dog that goes up in Sputnik during the space race.
Oh.
It was a really good show. I enjoyed it the first time.
Does that have words?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
a talking dog.
Otherwise, that'd be weird to win a writing award.
Yeah. No, he talks.
Oh, okay.
And then a show both of us saw, one favorite LGBT show, and that was Dungeons and Drag Queens, the second edition.
Absolutely.
Which I love. I love giving out the awards because they come up there. The single folks, like the performers and the director and writer, they always come up and look shocked. And then when we do the show at the end of it, the whole cast and crew come up and they're screaming and yelling and super excited and giving hugs, and
it's great.
It's a good time.
It's good energy. It's a great
Yeah.
time. It's a great way to wrap up Fringe, you know. And I will say we're gonna add 2 categories next year. We're gonna add something about an ensemble cast, you know.
Yeah.
So, but we're gonna word it in a way that you don't just win favorite ensemble and favorite show, but we're also gonna add a favorite solo performance.
Yeah.
Like, so one person
shows.
And I will say, like, I want to give these 2 shout outs because I really did love these shows. If we were to do that, if we had that this year or did it as an editor's pick, it would have gone solo show for Howdy Stranger, and would have done City Beautiful for ensemble cast because they were just incredible.
Yeah.
Or Cocaine Bear would have been a
But-
good run for that too.
But we didn't, so we're sorry you didn't get your award.
Hey, we're just saying you were great. That's all. You know, it was award worthy. But you know, next year.
Next
you'll
year,
be in
bring
the
a
running.
show back.
Bring it, well, or a new one because you're just talented and it's going to be great. I know.
They might be M. Night Shyamalan flukes. Maybe they just had one good show in them, and they're just gonna be chasing that dragon.
Do you
for the rest
think
of their
M.
life.
Night only had one good show?
I mean, I don't, but I've heard people say that after Sixth Sense, everything he did was downhill.
Sixth Sense was groundbreaking. Don't you think? It was like
I do. Yeah.
the first show with such a twist that was, and what was so amazing about it is that people kept the secret.
I mean, the internet wasn't the thing it is today.
Oh.
There is no way the Sixth Sense could be made today. It would within 2 seconds the internet would know
Yeah.
how it ended.
But now, I mean, so many shows do that because he did it.
Yeah.
You know, that was the first incredible twist like that, I think. Now, you know, if you're like 70 or above and you think that there's a show that had a greater twist that I just haven't seen, let me know what it is. I'll watch it.
Yeah. But yeah, so I thought it was great. Sorry, my bill collectors are calling to say, hey, the show's over. You've been going on for 2 hours. So we'll be back next week with more stuff to talk about.
Yeah. Sorry it was so long this time. I think next year what we'll do is we'll see, you know, we'll make a big run of the first weekend and we'll split these up. This is like the first time we talked about it, so we had to talk about all the shows.
You're assuming this podcast will be around next year, but hopefully, if it is, we'll do that.
Oh yeah, our sponsors, our sponsors only for a year. Hopefully they renew and we stick around.
I'm just saying, I'm not making plans after November until I see how this election turns out. None of us may be around.
We'll be underground.
Yeah. And we'll be coming to you from a bunker in the middle of nowhere. But until then, we're putting the cork back in the bottle.